You know what? I'm just going to do it without the music. And what I'll do is I'll just upload the music ahead of it.
Okay.
Right? Because I want to put like a rap song. I want to do one of my rap songs on there or whatever.
You're a rap guy?
No, but I did a few rap songs. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's the Shaper Art Podcast. I'm your host, Fritz.
Yay.
I've got Audrey here with me.
Hello.
We are going to be talking about a number of things. Originally, I was going to start this off to do a podcast about some of the books that I've written. So I was going to do originally this as the Haiku Pop podcast. Yeah, except then what I did was I recorded a whole episode.
Are we going to read the haikus?
We're going to read a few of them, yeah. Okay. And then we're going to talk about them.
Awesome.
But what happened, unfortunately, was I recorded the whole episode and then I listened back to it and I realized it was not funny at all. It was just me bitching. And it was not good. And I realized that, you know, I just didn't like the dynamic. And then I was like, well, we have a podcast. We have another podcast that we do, which is your podcast, which is Not Another Real Estate Podcast.com. It's actually the Not Another Real Estate Podcast. And it's available at notanotherrealestatepodcast.com. But I thought, okay, we have a good dynamic on that. We have a lot of fun. It's a little bit more professional. This is just silly. It's just fun. Yeah. And I thought, well, shit, if we're doing that, let's do the one where we can say bad words.
Okay, cool.
And make fun of stuff and just whatever.
Shit.
Yes. So, really, not the word I want to have to describe the show to start with, right?
Fabulous.
There you go.
Fabuloso.
These are not bad words. But we'll get to those. But anyway, so the first thing is I wanted to explain a little bit about haiku. People know what haiku is. Haiku is Japanese form poetry. It's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables.
I didn't know that.
Okay, well now you do.
Awesome.
You've read 3 of my books of haiku poetry. Didn't realize. Okay.
I mean, I just thought they were awesome. I just thought it was awesome.
But
that's
it's a specific type of poetry and format. And so haiku is used to traditionally represent and comment on the environment. Right? So
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and traditionally, most haiku are about nature. So they're about the natural world around us. They're about plants, trees, fish, the earth, the natural environment in which we live. So me being me and...
Me being me.
Yeah. Well, on my previous podcast, from 10 years ago, like forever ago, right? Actually now, oh my God, 12 years ago is when it came on. From the Frank the Unicorn radio program, I read haiku, pop culture haiku on that show. And that's how I got the idea to go, I should put these in a book, and came up with the idea of Haiku Pop. And the whole idea is it's the reinterpretation of, not of haiku, but just an interpretation of our environment, a reinterpretation of our environment. So it's used to represent the new societal and social environment in which we live and operate, which we're experiencing in this transition from the analog world to now we live in this new digital world. It's sort of in its infancy, okay? And, specifically what really drives our culture, which is consumer culture, but it's rebranded as popular culture, and that's really kind of the centerpiece of our modern lives. So, that affects what we're looking at in terms of art, because all of a sudden now NFTs are a big thing. I'm not personally a fan of those. I am an artist, and I do a lot of painting as well, which you can see on the website.
Your paintings are awesome.
Thank you. But I haven't gotten into the NFT space or anything, but that is part of our environment now. Okay, just as an example, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a bunch of different segments we're going to do on this show to kind of address all those things. One of which is the Haiku Pop segment. So we'll do Haiku Pop. We'll start off with Haiku Pop. And then a little bit later, we'll do what I want to call streaming of consciousness, which is, exploring just what's out on different streaming platforms and so on, and talking about just some little gems you could find out there.
I'm down with it.
Because we've all been locked inside for the last couple of years. And I think people have just worn out their playlists. They've watched everything that they can think of, and they probably could get some good recommendations. So let's go ahead and get popping.
Get popping.
We'll start with Haiku Pop. So there you go. We'll start with Haiku Pop, and we'll start with the most iconic or the most influential pop culture phenomenon that I can think of, at least for my life, probably for most.
Are we doing the Dirty Dancing one?
No.
Oh, that's my favorite one you did.
But that's not the... I love Dirty Dancing, and I love Swayze, but that is not the most influential.
Can we just talk about how influential Swayze was?
On next week's show.
Love Swayze. Okay, next week's show.
Look, we all love... Everyone loves Swayze. And in fact, the first haiku that I decided to start writing were, in fact, to honor Patrick Swayze.
Okay, my top 5 Swayze movies. Number 1.
Jesus. Okay,
Dirty
we're off
Dancing.
the rails. All right, here we go.
Dirty Dancing.
Yes.
Number 1.
Okay.
100% Dirty Dancing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Point Break.
Okay.
3, Roadhouse.
Okay.
4, Ghost.
Okay.
5, Lost Boys.
He wasn't in Lost Boys.
Not Lost Boys.
The hell?
What's the other one? Outsider Boys. The Outsiders.
The Outsiders? The Outsider Boys. What?
That was...
Oh, right. The one about vampire street gangs with Ralph Macchio as the karate vampire. Jesus Christ. You know someone's going to steal that and put it on a streaming service.
Anyway.
Swear to God, man. It's going to happen.
Okay.
The Karate Vampire. That is a movie that needs to happen.
You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Wait, you know the one that I'm talking about, though?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Anyways,
back to haikus.
Count Miyagi. Oh my God. Dude, the Karate Vampire needs to happen. Okay? It so needs to happen. My God, that would be fantastic. I would pay extra money to see a movie about a vampire that does karate. Yep. But specifically a teenager who discovers he's a vampire and deals with it.
Wait, this is like a mixture of...
And he deals with the emotional fallout of that and all the confusion and shit by doing karate.
No, this is kind of like that Michael J. Fox one where he turns into a vampire mixed with Karate Kid.
No, that's called Teen Wolf. He wasn't a vampire. He was a werewolf. Dude, come on.
Dude, this is Teen Wolf mixed with Karate Kid is what you're talking about.
Except that it's not, because it's not a werewolf. It's a vampire.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. Vampires and werewolves are not the same thing. They're enemies. They're mortal undead enemies. They're not mortal. They're not mortal, but they are undead enemies.
That's what I know.
They're sworn enemies. They do not get along.
No, what I meant is they're in like the same realm. They're in the same genre.
Well, okay.
You know what I mean?
They're supernatural horror villains. That's true. Exactly. Monsters. Yes.
Who would be your pick to play this vampire karate person?
Paul Rudd.
Nah, he's too old.
He's not too old.
We gotta go younger.
No. That's the best part. Right? Because Paul Rudd doesn't age, so he's actually a real vampire. So you get a real vampire.
He's far too old.
Come on, man.
He'd be the father.
Ah, okay, you got me there. That's good. That's good.
You know that scene where in Teen Wolf where Michael J. Fox.
Sorry, son.
Yeah, and the dad's a werewolf also.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That would be Paul Rudd coming in as the father, except for he's like.
So how did you think Michael J. Fox was a vampire in that movie? If you specifically remember the scene where his dad reveals that he's a werewolf.
No, all I'm saying is that.
I want to answer the question. I'm putting you on the spot. Here's the spot. You are officially on it. I need to know. How is it that you can remember the specific scene in Teen Wolf where the dad says, "Hey, son, I'm a werewolf too."
Okay.
And really weird because he interrupts him in the bathroom and he was a teenager, so who knows what he was doing in there. It was like a bunch of hair all over his hands. That's not a good sign.
No, I knew that he was a werewolf. All I'm saying is that...
why did you say it was teen vampire?
No, I said it was Teen Wolf, but...
You did not. You said teen vampire. I swear to God.
No, it was Teen Wolf, but I
said
that werewolves and vampires were the same. It's like the same thing, kind of.
No.
Anyways,
they're not the same.
I'm going to think about who would play this.
Who would play the teenager role?
Yeah.
I don't know enough teen actors to make a good, competent pick.
I'm going to have to think about this.
You know, I immediately I'm thinking...
Willow Smith, except for it's a woman.
What?
Willow Smith.
Oh, dude. I don't know.
She's really cool. She's kind of like a vampire, and she can do karate. Totally.
Oh, okay. I guess.
And crickets. Do we have like cricket sounds?
You just hijacked my whole concept. That's fine.
Okay. Anyways, moving on to haikus.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, that one was like a 9-minute sideways.
Now we're talking about Star Wars.
Now we're changing direction. We've now recognized, first of all, I just want to take a moment, if I may. I'd like to apologize to both the vampire and werewolf communities for the insensitivity of my co-host.
I apologize.
Thank you. Okay, you are not the same. We recognize in today's culture, 2022, the individuality and the choice that vampires make to identify as vampires and werewolves make to identify as werewolves. Mm-hmm. And we acknowledge that werewolves and vampires are not the same. Mm-hmm. They're just supernatural, and they are the same in that manner. But otherwise, right? Or are we going to get into the whole thing about how all supernatural creatures are the same and equal? Or are they?
They're not. They're
Okay.
not the same. They're not.
Is that safe for us to go that direction 10 minutes into the first show?
Yeah.
Probably
too
not.
much.
Okay, so let's just go back to Star Wars.
The Outsiders.
That's what I told you.
Okay.
The Outsider Boys.
Sorry.
Oh my God! Now you know what's going to happen. We're going to have to do a skit like next week. The Outsider Boys.
Anyways.
Pony Boy. All right.
Pony Boy. Yes. Anyways.
Played by guess who? The karate vampire himself.
Ralph Macchio.
That's right, Ralph Macchio. Okay.
All right. So let's start with Star Wars.
Why did Pony Boy go through all that shit if he knew karate?
I don't know.
Honestly, I mean, come on, man.
Think about it though. Ralph Macchio was not ever going to beat up that blonde guy. He was so cute. In real life, blonde guy.
Do you mean William Zabka?
Yes.
He has a name.
I had the biggest crush on him. I had the biggest crush on him.
But you can't remember his name?
No, everybody liked Ralph Macchio when I was like.
Was he in Teen Vampire?
No. Billy Zabka.
Yes.
Was.
So are you watching
so
Cobra
cute.
Kai?
No, I'm
What?
not.
How can you be a fan of Bill Zabka and not watch Cobra Kai?
I'm too tired.
He's the best part of the whole show.
He is the show.
He is the whole show. Actually, he is. I had intended this show to be more of a tribute to the films of Dean Cameron, but evidently we're going with Bill Zabka. So William Zabka.
So cute.
We can always say positive
some
things.
Some girls
about William
liked Jonathan Brandis. Some girls liked Kirk Cameron.
Jonathan Brandis was way after William Zabka.
Some girls liked
like a good
New
5
Kids on
years,
the
which in
Block.
terms of teenagers is like, you know.
I don't know. I loved Billy Zabka. He was so handsome.
You like the villain. That's why you like the bad guy.
No, it's not that I like the villain.
You want the guy who's going to lift up the table in the cafeteria just to prove how strong he is for no reason. And not get punished. How the hell did you do that?
He was just cute.
No, how the hell did he do that in the movie? You know the movie I'm talking about. We watched part of that movie together. I don't think you'd ever seen it. Just one of the guys. All-time classic 80s movie. William Zabka's the villain. He's a bully. And in this... His bully move in this movie is so stupid. Because all he does is he puts on his weird little fingerless, netted, leather-palmed weightlifting gloves, okay, with his bandana and his members-only jacket, right? Great look. And he goes in and he grabs a table in the cafeteria where the nerds are sitting, and he just lifts up the table and spills all the food on the floor.
I don't know.
And then his friends all cheer and he high-fives them. And he never gets punished. Where the hell were the administration staff? Where was the disciplinary staff in high schools in the 80s? They didn't exist. Watch any high school movie, from the 80s, comedy or whatever, that takes place in a high school. Someone's doing something in that high school that the principal or someone else should be stopping, and they never do. They never have consequences for that awful behavior.
I don't know, man.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Let's actually get to the Haiku Pop stuff, shall we?
Star Wars.
So, first one.
Star Wars.
This is some deep shit to wade into after what we just discussed.
Okay.
Star Wars was ruined when I found out stormtroopers were all child soldiers. Obviously, yeah.
Bam, bam.
Written in response to Finn, the played by John Boyega, in the new Star Wars movies. Right? Mm-hmm. We saw the one together. Yeah. Written in response to his character revealing that he is, in fact, a child soldier taken from his family as an infant, assigned a number, didn't even ever have a name, at least didn't know it, and was raised as a stormtrooper. That's all he ever knew. That's all he ever was exposed to. And yeah, basically sets up the premise that all the stormtroopers in the new Star Wars movies are child soldiers and slaves.
They are.
This is horrifying.
Horrible.
How in the hell?
I don't know.
And the worst part is Disney is pounding their chest about having a female protagonist in the movie as if that means something, and as if we didn't already have a much better female protagonist in the first damn series called Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Anyways. What a stupid move.
I don't know. Can I read the second one?
Yes.
Okay. The second one is Boba Fett did shit. He went out like a punk ass. Didn't kill one guy.
Yes, it always bothered me in the original Star Wars trilogy that everyone was so up on Boba Fett, right? Okay, yeah, he looked cool, and he was a bounty hunter, and that was fine. But in reality, in the first 3 movies, he was lame. I mean, he really wasn't great. He didn't really do anything. He had barely any screen time, didn't really have any lines.
Doesn't he have his own movie now?
Well, he's got his own TV show, but so that's the whole thing is at the end, he shows up in Return of the Jedi, he's menacing, he looks mysterious, he looks tough. You think there's going to be some kind of conflict between him and Han Solo. There isn't. He doesn't ever actually really fight anyone. He briefly gets into the scuffle in Return of the Jedi. Luke cuts his lightsaber, or cuts his blaster in half. He forgets he's got all the other Mandalorian weapons, evidently, and he just gets accidentally knocked over.
Wait, was he the Mandalorian?
No, but he is a Mandalorian.
I never saw
that's a separate series on Disney Plus.
See, I never got into that.
Yeah.
It was like first 3, then the next 3, then the next 4 or 5, and then I was like, can't do anymore.
Well, so the whole thing with Boba Fett is, he just got knocked into the Sarlacc pit, and that was it, and he was done. He was gone. He had no conflict at all. He didn't show anything in those first 3 movies, and if you mention the holiday special cartoon that he was in, yes, he was the best part of whatever the hell that holiday special was. The cartoon was the best part, but that doesn't make it good. And especially when C-3PO is saying things like, Boba Fett is Darth Vader's main man, which he actually says in the cartoon.
Main man?
Because everyone that wrote that show was doing piles of cocaine.
Really?
Oh, for sure. The 70s. Have you ever seen the Star Wars holiday special?
No.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I saw The Great Ewok Adventure.
Dude. The Great Ewok Adventure looks like freaking Shakespeare compared to, like, seriously, the holiday special is the most unbelievable piece of shit. I mean, it is such a fucking mess. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
No way.
It is literally the worst thing I've ever seen, that I've ever watched. It's the worst thing I've ever watched for that's been presented as any type of TV show or movie. And I don't mean that in a good way. I normally like crappy stuff. I love crappy stuff. I live on crappy stuff. You know that.
I do.
I love all the bad movies. Really bad movies. Really, really bad movies.
What's that show you're watching now with the weird guy and the small guy?
Well, that's a great show. It's called Fantasy Island, and it's fantastic.
Meh.
Welcome. I'm your host, Mr. Rourke. Welcome to Fantasy Island. Smiles, everybody. Smiles. Tattoo.
Except
Please.
for now, see, this is bringing me back to the whole vampire thing. Anyway, sorry.
There was an episode of Fantasy Island where the dad from the Brady Bunch played a vampire. Like, his fantasy was he was an actor, and he was getting the role of playing Dracula, so his fantasy was to come to Fantasy Island and actually be a vampire, because he was a method actor.
And you're saying
Robert Reed. It was hilarious.
That the Star Wars thing was worse than
Yes, God, by far. In fact, put it this way. The Star Wars Holiday Special is not even something you can watch and laugh at. It's painful to watch. It hurts. It sucks. It's so bad. It's not even funny to watch. It's not fun to watch and make fun of. It's not fun to watch at all. Even with the masturbating Wookiee, yeah, that happens. And
the Wookiee masturbate?
Yes.
They don't show that, though, right?
Yeah, Chewbacca's father is beating it to a song. Yeah, that's right. Sung by, I think, Diane Carroll, okay? And B. Arthur's in it, okay?
What?
Yeah. And I mean, it's just a complete fucking mess. I can't believe you've never seen it. It is so goddamn bad.
Do they have this, like, online?
Yes, they do. And I had it, in fact, I actually had it on DVD years ago, because I had gotten a bootleg at a convention, and I was giving away copies of the Star Wars Holiday Special on my show on DVD in an effort to try to get George Lucas to sue me so I could get publicity for the show, and it just failed miserably. It didn't work. And oddly enough, everyone that I gave one of those DVDs to is no longer my friend.
Oh, okay. Maybe
That's how bad it is, dude. Seriously, it is really, really shitty. If one of the Golden Girls gave another one of the Golden Girls that DVD, they would not be friends anymore.
Did you know that?
Be like, thank you for being a friend. It's over.
That Rue and Betty actually were not, like, really good friends with Bea. They didn't get along with her.
They say that.
They all kind of got along.
They worked together.
She was an eccentric, though, and the other two were like goof offs.
They worked together for decades because remember, They were on Maud as well.
They did.
So, all this stuff about they didn't get along. I mean, look, I don't...
Okay, they weren't best friends, but they didn't hate each other. They
right.
were like, they were
They make it out, but that's the thing. They make it out like they hate each other. They didn't hate each other.
Yeah,
they just weren't hanging out. They weren't the best, closest friends. Like, they weren't as close as they were on the TV show.
Exactly.
But how could they be? They were real people. They weren't characters.
They weren't Golden Girls.
Huh?
I said they weren't real Golden Girls. They weren't living together.
They will always be the Golden Girls to me.
I'm still watching that right now.
I know. I love that show.
Sorry.
Never gets old.
Back to the next one. The
whole thing with Boba Fett though. So now they've retconned that, and he's got his own show where you want the candy. Yeah. Of course you do.
We're talking about Star Wars.
You have to get in the van now. I've given you candy. Now get in the van. Okay. Here in my van, I have all of the candy. You can have some if you want to in my van.
No, that's not how it goes.
I know that's not how it goes. You don't remember either.
I remember when we made up the song Here in My Van.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, I don't know if I want to say the lines.
All right, anyway, this has gotten dark. What a great first episode. It's gone completely dark. All right. Anyway, they've now retconned the whole thing with Boba Fett because they realize they have this very marketable character that everybody loved, but who really didn't do anything and really kind of went out like a bitch. So they brought him back. He climbed out of the Sarlacc pit. He's got his own show. Everyone thinks it's so great. Yay.
Cool.
Right? You see Haiku Pop, because I published this book in 2017.
You wrote it that long ago?
Yes.
Wow.
This book... This poem, I would like to think that this poem, Boba Fett did shit. He went out like a punk ass, didn't kill one guy, shamed Disney enough to where they're like, man, did you read that poem? That was a hellacious burn. We have to do something about this. We've got to retcon it or make some kind of story to where Boba Fett is not a punk ass. So I'm going to take credit for the fact that if you like the Boba Fett show,
it's on you. Yeah.
The Book of Boba Fett is what it's called. If you enjoy that, you can thank me because my poetry is so powerful and moving that it there's no arrogance here, that it actually literally it influenced Disney to create the Book of Boba Fett. And coincidentally, the next poem, there's a show coming out about this guy too. Mm. And maybe they'll address my criticism in that show. Would you like to read it, or would you like for me to read it?
You read it.
Kenobi!
No, I'll read it.
All right, go ahead.
Kenobi did not go back to free Annie's mom. No reason not to.
That's right. Obi-Wan Kenobi knew that Anakin's mom was a slave. Okay? Now, I'm not faulting Qui-Gon on this, because he got chopped in half.
Yep.
We didn't get chopped in half, but he got killed by Darth Maul.
Yeah.
So he never had a chance to go back and do anything. He was dead.
Yeah.
But Kenobi did. Obi-Wan Kenobi could have easily gone back and freed Anakin's mom. Right? He didn't even have to do it immediately after killing Darth Maul, but he could have done it after he went back to the Jedi Council. And he could have done it in a number of ways. Because number one, who's holding his mom in bondage? Watto. You just killed a Sith Lord, my brother. You chopped him in half. Now I got it right. You cut the dude in half. And he was pretty fearsome. In fact, he was such a badass, he didn't even die after you chopped him in half. Talk about a retcon. But anyway, so it's not like Watto would pose some physical threat to a Master Jedi who just killed a Sith Lord. Right? Obi-Wan Kenobi is considered one of, if not the finest Jedi swordsman. Right? With the lightsaber. Okay? His combat skills with the lightsaber were unmatched amongst most Jedi. I mean, he was top. One of the top guys, right? Up there with Mace Windu, with with Yoda, whatever. He beat Darth Vader. I mean, come on, in a one-on-one duel, right? So he chopped them all up and had the high ground, the whole deal. Anyway, so he's not a schlub. It's not like he doesn't have the power or the ability to go back and take out Watto.
I have the power.
We'll get to He-Man next week.
Okay.
Point is, he could have easily gone back and freed Anakin's mom. So now the next argument is, well, he wouldn't do that. Why? Because he's not violent and the Jedi aren't violent. They wouldn't do that. They have the money to buy her. Disgusting as that sounds. And you know what? We know she was for sale. How do we know that? Because in the next movie, in the second movie, right? What pisses Anakin off so much? He goes to the dark side and goes crazy, killing a bunch of sand people. Why? Because they kidnap his mom from her new life, where she was married. Watto sold her.
I don't know.
Point is, Watto sold her, so the Jedi could have bought her and just freed her.
I don't remember the first.
Instead, they didn't.
Slash second three.
You're probably fortunate in that way. They're terrible.
I know, so I don't remember them. I forced them out of my brain.
Yeah, they're terrible. I mean, really, talk about ruining a whole legacy of a film franchise.
It's ruined now.
Well, you knew it was going to be bad. What was a franchise anyway? It was the original franchise, really. Well, no, James Bond was the original franchise. In terms of
franchise, yeah.
Yeah, what we would consider a modern franchise. Because really, you could get back into movie serials, which were the first franchises, but that's not what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, geez, Kenobi, you could have gone back and freed Anakin's mom. I don't understand why you didn't do that. That seems like a really bad idea because,
Why didn't he free her?
They never get into it. They never explain it. They never explain why the Jedi Council would allow this woman to remain in bondage, in slavery. And oh, by the way, that was under the Galactic Republic, which were supposed to be the good guys in the Clone Wars. So the Jedi were the defenders of peace and all that in the galaxy, right? For the Galactic Republic, who were totally okay with slavery. It was absolutely legal. And I don't mean just the robot slavery, which is kind of an undercurrent for the even the original Star Wars movies, okay? But I'm talking about actual biologic beings, right? You can't just say humans because they're aliens and everything in Star Wars, but biologic life forms, let's say, with free will, thoughts, emotions, feelings, they should all be free. They talk about it being a democracy and a republic and all this and all that, but they have slavery. Are they really the good guys?
I don't know.
Not if they're okay with slavery. And not only that, you know how else we know they're good with slavery? Because the entire clone army were slaves.
Well,
so how do you continue to root for them? This is why the prequels ruined the entire Star Wars franchise, right? Like, just completely ruined it.
But that's like any political system.
No.
You think somebody's the good guy, but really they still do effed up stuff.
Well, look, there's some... Look, I agree, but, listen. In this case, you're presenting a fictional world where there is one side that is good and there is one side that is bad. Light side, dark side, right? And we're presented this story that we're supposed to be rooting for the protagonists who are on the light side, who are the rebels, who are the underdogs. They're trying to take down the evil galactic empire. The evil galactic empire where slavery is illegal, whereas the remnants of the Republic who have formed the rebellion, it was totally legal for them. Right?
I get what you're saying.
And not only that, the whole Clone Wars, it started with a breakaway group saying, we want our own independence. We want to form our own independent, government, okay, of planets. We don't want to be part of the Galactic Republic anymore. Now, they never really say why. They say it was manipulated by the evil Darth Sidious and he pulled all the strings and he manipulated everything and all that. But that doesn't explain why all these planets and all these beings on these planets with their own conscious ideas and motivations and things would join with these separatists. They couldn't all have been threatened into joining with these separatists because they had to provide material assistance and support, right? Now, again, they had a slave army too, but they were robots. So that's a little bit more of a gray area. And they are clearly against slavery since slavery didn't exist in the Empire anymore. It was outlawed.
Interesting.
So they're kind of not looking so bad, in the context of they're the ones who wanted their freedom. We don't know why, but it could be because they weren't okay with the Galactic Republic having slavery. They never really discuss why, again, other than it's just this master manipulator who's pulling all the strings. So we don't really know. They don't really clarify, so it's a little bit of a gray area, right? So when you really step back and look at it from this other perspective, you realize that maybe in this story, there really are no good guys. There really aren't. Because the Jedi aren't good guys. it's a weird religious cult that takes children from their families and raises them in this weird religious cult to never have personal attachments, relationships, never fall in love, never express themselves in that way, only serve the Force, only serve the Jedi Order, and do what we say. And by the way, we're totally cool with slavery.
Interesting.
Right?
I guess I never.
And we get away with it because we're telekinetic space wizards and everyone is fucking terrified of us. Why? Because we can choke you to death with our minds. We can kill you by looking at you. Right? And if that's not enough, we're going to pull out this laser sword and now we're going to have some business. And that's a horrifying proposition to live with. Don't you think? I think it is.
Yeah.
So, really scary. There really are no good guys in this story. Okay? There really aren't. When you take a step back, when you refuse to only view this narrow perspective that they're presenting of the story and you look at it in the wider context. And that is what Haiku Pop is all about, is looking at these things, providing this different perspective, okay, not only in how we're using haiku, but also in the things we're talking about in our pop culture with these haikus. So the idea that, if you just watch the Star Wars movies and people will describe that to you, no one's going to say anything at all about the implications of the stormtroopers being child soldiers or the clone army being a bunch of slaves, clone slaves with no free will and life expectancy that's chopped in half because they're genetically modified to age at twice the ratio of a normal biologic being. Boba Fett being a completely weak and useless character that's nothing more than a marketing creation, which now they're trying to retcon. Why? Because he's a popular marketing creation. And how our popular culture represents that underbelly. It can't help it. It has to put in these themes, right? These warts, right? Yeah. That is reflected in our popular culture. But we don't consciously see it, but it's there. And that's what Haiku Pop, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm exploring with these poems. And I realize it's a long way to get there for that. Thank you for sticking with me and sticking with us.
I'm sticking here. I'm here.
But that's really the idea there. That's what we're going for. That's what I'm going for. So I hope you all had an entertaining time on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I think
next time we read the Haiku Pop. I love Haiku Pop.
We will read more from Haiku Pop. And next week, too, I want to get into the streaming of consciousness. We're going to do a few more segments. We'll divide it up. Okay. We won't spend so much time on the intro next time and all that. But
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I got distracted.
No, it's all good, man.
It's Swayze.
It is Swayze. We'll talk about Swayze next time. But I do also want to mention that I am going to also be talking about Dean Cameron, because I watched one of Dean Cameron's films earlier, and I very much enjoyed it. So I'm gonna discuss that at a further episode. So anyway, I want to thank you all for listening. This has been the Shaper Art podcast, and thank you for listening. And I hope you hear you next week, or hope you hear us next week.
Yay!
Something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway,
Shaper Art podcast.
That's right.